Yeah.
It's just like living at home. So you guys, we're so glad that you're able to join us here. As you can see, Joanne and I were just talking about this. I am still in the Florida house. Woo woo. I'm in my own little personal movie theater here. So I know that some of us can't go to the movie theaters in our own area. I'm one of those people. Where I live, we really can't go to any movie theaters. So this is like an amazing experience. So much fun. But today you're going to get to hear real tutors' experiences with reading, teaching reading online, and going through the Reading Interventionist program. So I'm so glad that you guys are going to get to hear what their experience has been like and learn more about some other tutors as well, which is absolutely fantastic. So we've got Joanne Burns and we've got Kathy Cousino. Kathy looks so pleased to be here. Hello, Kathy. She's out there in the sun and I'm in here in the movie theater. You should be smiling more than me. I don't know though. That's pretty awesome up here. I shouldn't say that because it's pretty awesome. This is pretty sweet.
It is.
Yep. That's our pool and our little lake in front of us and a hot tub, and it is heated. So, awesome stuff. We got it going on here. So we are going to start learning a little bit more, you guys, about Joanne Burns. And Joanne is also a online reading tutor. So I'm going to start off with just like the most basic question. What was reading like for you, Joanne, when you were a kid?
Well, I remember my mother reading a lot in the house. So that was one of the first impressions, like loving to
Mm.
read. In
Oh,
school, though, it was a little bit different. There were a lot of SRAs,
uh-huh.
and it's like the DRAs, but it was the precursor to them. So
Yep.
they were fine because I loved reading stories. So, you just kept reading through them. But my favorite time was going to the library and being able to pick out my own book. And
Mm.
then lots of book reports, lots of spelling lists and spelling tests. And then I also remember the anthologies.
Mhm.
So it's the short pieces, excerpts in books.
Yep.
Um,
And how did you do with reading? Did you ever have a problem with reading or?
I was very lucky. I love to read so much. I don't remember having a problem with reading, and it was always something that was a bit of a challenge that I wanted to do my best on my spelling tests. So
Yes.
yeah.
I love the spelling test too because it was like something that I knew I could master. I could study it and master it. Whereas with reading, like I couldn't get better at comprehending on my own. But a spelling test, I actually felt very comfortable with because I could study and I could memorize and I could do it and feel really proud of myself. But yeah, I started with reading comprehension, and that's kind of what led me. So, what led you, Joanne, to want to be able to help kids specifically with reading?
Well, I've always worked with children, babysitting and all that. That led me into teaching, education
Mm-hmm.
field. And then I started with kindergarten, and I ended up
Mm.
teaching so many different grade levels and learning the true scope and sequence of how to read. So that is just one of my favorite things to do, is to help a child learn how to read, because it just opens up so many doors for everything else, for
It really
science, for
does.
social studies, for math. You have to learn how to read the signs on the side of the road. I mean, there's so many areas where it brings your whole world, it opens it up.
It really does, doesn't it? Like so many opportunities are available to when you're able to do it well. And it also gives you a more positive outlook, I think, on life as well. Like kids really suffer from that struggle for a really long time can suffer more depression and self-doubt and all of those kind of negative thoughts because they feel like they're not as smart as some of the other kids and all that kind of stuff, right? And so when did you start your online tutoring business?
Well, I started the online tutoring business a couple of years. Well, no, not actually, a couple of months ago. So
Okay.
just a few months ago, because I'd done one-to-one tutoring until the pandemic,
Yep.
and then I needed to shift, and I looked forward to shifting too, because I'd already worked with a couple of people online for other reasons, and I thought, boy, this could really work well.
Mhm.
So, with my special ed background and my regular ed background, having helped children before, I thought, let's try tutoring online. But I didn't know where to start. I
Yeah.
didn't know where to begin with it. There's so much out there
Yeah.
in order to, that advertises to help you. So
Yeah.
I was looking for people who had done kind of a lot of the work also,
Yeah.
and they had things to recommend to me, and that's how I found you guys online.
That's
Um,
awesome.
yeah.
That's awesome. And what are some of the differences you've noticed it with doing like the one-on-one in-person tutoring versus the online tutoring?
Well, funnily enough, the kids are invested right away because there's a screen a lot of
Mm.
times. So they think it's going to be more fun that way, which I'm not going to tell them any difference. This is
Right.
and also because I can make it fun. I can
Yeah.
just talk to them. I don't need to wait for three other people to talk. If I'm doing a pod group, that's different, but I'm doing one-on-one now. So this one-on-one, that one child is my star pupil, and they
Mhm.
get all of my attention, and I can
Yes.
stop and I can check with them, and I can have them interacting and engaging with games and things that I bring up, and
Mhm.
we can have a lot of fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's interesting is that a lot of people think that in-person tutoring where the child is sitting next to me is more engaging than online tutoring. And I have just found that I guess it just depends on what kind of teacher you are to begin with, on whether you're able to engage your student or not, right? But they're engaged right out of the gate. They're ready to get to work. There is no like when they would come to me in person, they sometimes had it took about 5 or 10 minutes sometimes to get them like started. Like I had the one little boy who would have to use the bathroom, and then he would have to, he'd have to, we'd have to get him down into my office, and sometimes he would come right away, and sometimes he would want to play with my dog, and I had to try to get him away from my dog and then get comfortable downstairs. I'm like, oh my gosh, like when I have my online students, it's just like, hey, how's it going? A quick 2-minute chit chat, maybe, and
Mhm,
we're in, you
mhm,
know,
mhm,
got the words up, we're ready to go. And it's absolutely amazing. So
right.
you guys, I just want to thank you guys that are watching us on YouTube and joining us today. I love when I get to talk to other reading tutors, and that's exactly what we're doing today. Tell us, I'm curious to know, you guys, what is it that you teach? What do you tutor, and where are you from? Please tell us. Inside of the chat, we want to be able to say hello to you. So we love to be able to engage with you. And any questions that you guys have, please feel free to add those on in. So Joanne, where do you live?
I live in New York. I live in Westchester County, New York.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, where it's cold right
Nice.
now, cold and a little
Yeah.
overcast, but I love all the trees and the mountains and things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We probably shouldn't tell her, Kathy, that it feels amazing here then. We
Mm,
walked outside. Okay. So here's the weirdest thing. I go outside and I'm standing in the sun. I'm like, oh, it's a sunny day today. This is nice. And I can feel the sun on my face. I'm like, oh my God, it feels amazing outside. I swear there is something different about Florida weather than like where I live. It was only 57. And I'm like, I almost felt like I could put on my bathing suit and get in the pool. Now, 57 at home, I would never even consider thinking about putting on my bathing suit and getting in. I don't know what it is down here, guys. It just feels amazing. So I didn't do that, by the way. But
She
yeah,
will later.
no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
The hot
Not if,
tub hot. You will.
so yeah, it's so you're in New York, you've got regular winter weather there, and
mhm.
oh, crazy,
Yeah.
crazy.
So that's
And where do you work with other students that are from like near your area, or do you have students from different parts of the country?
well, I don't have. I've had students from all over actually, which is so cool. I'm
Nice.
working with one consistently just north of me. He's about an hour north of me.
Okay.
But what's neat is I've helped a child in Georgia with
Hmm.
a project that he was doing. So I did that for a while. And then I've had inquiries from Texas and from Washington State. And that's
Hmm.
another cool thing about being online. You get to meet people from all over.
I know.
It's there's no boundaries, which is
Right.
really cool.
It
Yeah.
is really cool to be able to really touch. I was just talking to one of my students this morning because we're studying Japan. I had a student in Japan, and he was on vacation one time and Mount Fuji was in the background. And his mom's like, show him the background, show him what's behind you. And he's like, oh yeah, do you see that back there? I'm like, yeah, what is it? He goes, it's Mount Fuji. I was like, are you kidding me? I am looking at Mount Fuji right now.
That is so
Like,
awesome.
that's what it looks like right now. Like, I was blown just like at all the different people that we have the opportunity to touch because we're online and not like just surrounded by our zip code, and we can help them in the things that we love to teach, which is absolutely amazing. So what motivated you to join the Reading Interventionist program, Joanne?
Well, I was looking for something, I have so many materials from teaching for 30 plus years, and I have way too much, and I needed something to whittle down that was easy to use in an hour, that would give me the most information. And that's what I got out of the Reading Interventionist program. So, other teachers have used it and have figured out what are the best sites online. And something like that Wordwall site. I mean, it was awesome.
I know. Isn't that amazing?
He loves that whack-a-mole game, and
yes.
I'll use that at the end. And because Kathy brought that up when I was in her group, and my student just loves it, makes all the difference in the world at the end. Can I play whack-a-mole? Yes, you can. Let's get this done and you can do it, So, and working one-on-one is so much easier when I have a pathway, and
yes.
There's so many materials there that have narrowed down that pathway.
Yep.
So it's much easier for me, and I don't have to spend as much time pulling everything together.
Right.
What I do a few minutes. I pull together my tabs to go to different areas online. They're set up for my tutoring session. I have my materials for where he or she is reading wise, and I'm good to go.
I love that. It does, like, I love that it really doesn't even take like a lot of planning either, because it's really easy to go from like one session to the next without feeling like, oh, I have to plan out this whole entire hour session. No, you don't have to plan it out. You just need to know the path that you're traveling with that child so that you can get the results that you want to be able to get. And I think that then allows choice on their side, which then allows them to be more committed and have more fun. So those of you who are wondering, what is that Wordwall website that she's talking about? It's called wordwall.net. You will definitely want to check that out. It is amazing, you guys. Wordwall.net has the ability for you to create your own lists or look at lists that other teachers have created that are turned into games with the words. And so one of them is whack-a-mole. Another, they have sorts that you can do inside of there. They have quiz games, quiz show game that's on there. And then you can even change the formatting to make it even more fun, specifically for each of your students. So like I can have a cowboy background setting on the same exact word list, and I can have a different kind of background for another kid based off their interests. I know one's like a space one that they have, all these different types of backgrounds that you can have that just personalize it. And I think the more that we can personalize things, the easier it can be. So we've got Nick in the house. Woo, woo. It was awesome getting to see you last night. Nick was able to come to our webinar last night where I was able to teach what is the specific path that I use to be able to close that gap very, very quickly. And so he was able to come and join us for that. He mostly does a test prep in the reading and the verbal side. And he also has a daughter, I know, that he had mentioned that also does like the reading tutoring as well, which is awesome. So lots of great stuff going on there, Nick. And glad that you are here and joining us today. And of course, we've got our wonderful Beth in the house. So remember, please introduce who you guys are, where you're from, because you're going to get to network with some other amazing tutors as well. So as you were kind of going through the Reading Interventionist program, you had a lot of background in reading beforehand. I mean, you had worked in the school system, you were working with kids one-on-one. And it always surprises me, like when I have people joining the class that have so much of a background in reading, and I also feel nervous too at the same time, like, I hope I meet like their expectations because you already have like so much knowledge in reading. what were some of the like tidbits that you were able to take out of it, or what was useful for you?
Well, what was neat is uh, it was nice to be able to have other people to bounce things off of also when you're in that group session meeting them. And Kathy was a great leader for that. She's very comfortable, and always, there's always something that's we were laughing at, which helps to pass the time. It makes it easier to meet new people and discuss things when you're feeling comfortable with them. So that was
Yeah.
fun. So it gives you confidence to pursue the online tutoring, because I now have this bag of tricks, and I can go back to the site and I can look up things that I may have, I'm not as brushed up on. So, and it keeps me on that narrow path so that I
Yeah.
know I've got this much time and I've got my goals in sight and I'm going for this goal, and the student that I'm working with are just very happy. And that also shows me that I'm going in the right direction with them, that I'm using these materials that are set up for me, that are easier than me going back and finding, 4 years ago or 10 years ago, something on phonics or something.
Right.
So it's been, really very, very helpful and given me a bit of a boost of confidence in
Yeah.
dealing with these kids.
A lot of times too, I find that, as you had mentioned before, that we just have so many hands-on tools and resources that, like, in the beginning, it's kind of hard to think about, well, how do I do this online?
Mhm.
Versus thinking about what tool already exists that will help me be able to do that online. And I think that that part is the part that reading tutors can struggle with the most. They're like, I'm so used to doing a sort with cards. How do I do that online? Well, you use something like wordwall.net. There you go. You just type in your words. I can type in my words like on demand, or I can look up a list of words on demand. Like a student's struggling with shun words, all I have to do is go to wordwall.net, put in shun words. I'm going to already have a bunch of different words I can have the child practice reading
Mhm.
without having to create all of those tools and resources by hand. Do you remember those days?
Ah,
You taught in a kindergarten classroom, so I know you remember those.
absolutely. And special K1 too. So you had to break things down even a little bit more into smaller
Uh-huh.
parts. But
Uh-huh.
there is a lot online now that's very, very
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And it can still be hands-on. And I think that's the piece that
Mhm.
people are like, well, it's not hands-on if the kids don't actually have it in their hand. But if a child is manipulating things on the screen, that's hands-on.
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? Like that
Mhm.
is a portion of hands-on. And it's also in their language. They love playing games. So if
Yeah.
you've got different tools where they're playing games and they're getting to do that kind of stuff,
Right.
that's great. And I have them always reading books, reading, because what is reading instruction without reading books?
And
So having those books.
with the whiteboards and things, you have them where they're writing in front of you, and you can help
Mhm.
them make corrections, and you can give them hints
Yes.
right away,
Yep.
immediately.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you can tap into what is it that they know so that they can do it, right? Like if a child's trying to read the word hand and they can't put the pieces together for whatever reason, like you can take a look at it and you can just underline, do you know what A and D is? Do you remember what that is? Yes, that's and. Great. Now let's add the other sound in front of it, right? Like so we can draw. So instead of like pointing like I would do if they were like sitting next to me, I'm just using my pen and drawing underneath it and doing those kinds of things, which make it really, really awesome. Just, I don't know. As soon as I could start writing inside of my books too, because it was like I never wrote inside of my books when I was like reading books with kids. But now online, you write on top of the screen and there you go.
Right, right. My big thing was the sticky notes, the Post-its. I taught my
Mm,
5th and 6th graders all about how to organize their main ideas, protagonists, antagonists, all those different things through Post-its so that their books were covered in them. And do you know they actually have stickies now? I can still do it. There's
yep,
stickies on
yep.
computers. Yeah.
Exactly. They've already like built that all on inside of there. And you're like, what? Mind blown. Shh.
Yeah.
And okay, I will never remember the year. I will never forget the year, I should say. I will never forget the year that one of my children and I was doing online tutoring at this point, but she's like, Mom, I need 12 packages of 4 blocks of sticky notes. I need 12 packages of them. Like, what? Like, okay, someone may be overdoing the whole sticky note strategy.
What?
A lot of packages. Like, what are you like sticky noting? Like, I mean, I know the strategy, but I think someone might be overdoing it that you need that many. And my kid came home with like 6 of those packages at the end of the year. I'm like, yeah, I felt like that was like kind of overkill. But yes, now we can all do that digitally versus having to do that, in any other way. So for tutors that are just kind of thinking about, they're like, well, I know how to teach reading. Maybe I don't know how to do it online, or maybe I don't even know how to teach reading. What kind of advice would you have for them if they're kind of on the fence of, should I join the Reading Interventionist program?
Well, I think it's an investment in yourself. I really do. I think I didn't want to go back and take a college course. I had read a lot about what people were saying about the Reading Interventionist course. And I think it really was going to hone what I needed to be a better tutor online. Knowing where to go, how to set up everything, how to assess my students. That's a huge piece. Where to go for the assessment, what's going to work, what's out there that's been out there and proven as an assessment too, not something that's kind of a fly-by-night thing. So I needed something for an assessment. I needed my goals. I needed to be able to meet the students online. I needed to be able to help the students, giving them a breakdown of how to use the materials that are online. And all of this is being brought up. Kathy was so great with, this is where you go for this, and this is where you go for that, for when I was at a loss for things.
Yeah.
So it really is a very supportive program, and it really will help you to start right away.
Yeah. And that's the goal. That's the goal with all of it. And for those of you that don't know, Kathy and I met about 1.5 years ago, and not in person or anything, just online. She had reached out to me, and I was on the boat with my kids at the time, and she like messaged me because she was like, she found a back door to get into my Insider Secrets Club. And she's like, so can I push this button? Can I push pay? And I'm like, hey, if you found the button, you absolutely can. And she's like, okay. So, we kind of went back and forth, and then she joined the Insider Secrets Club. And then after that, she ended up joining the Reading Interventionist program. And she's like, I want to know how to do all of this reading stuff online. And she was so incredible, you guys. She got book solid after her first year of just doing this stuff. And she kept saying to me, Joanne, I think I'd be good at, she just said, I am going to be one of your coaches one day. Just reached out to me. She said, I'm going to be one of your coaches one day. Let me know when you're ready. And she was just like point blank, like, I know what's going to happen. So you just let me know when you're ready. And she'd be like, hey, are you ready yet? And I'd be like, I don't think so. And then she'd be like, are you ready yet? I'm like, I think I'm going to be ready on this date. And so I was like, I think she'd be really good at like helping out with the Reading Interventionist program. She went through the program. She, was somebody who was in the same exact place as so many of the people that go through this program. I think that she would really make a good fit for being able to run our special calls that we do. Now, those of you that haven't joined the Reading Interventionist program yet, you get lifetime access to the program. So what you buy today, as long as I have Kajabi, you have access to it. So you can see that as lifetime, or you can see it as long as Joanne has access. Like, I'm not going to take it away from you. I'm never going to charge you more to come back in to take the class again. If I ever do an upgrade on it, I won't charge you for the upgrade. I will just give it to you. And anytime we have live calls, you're always welcome to join. So it's just really more of a community that I would love to be able to create versus a program that's like a one-time, like hit and miss kind of thing. Like, all right, you get it. I want people to be able to use this program, go back. If there's any resources and tools that they need, they can always go back to that program. They feel like they have that ability to be able to do that. And And Kathy is such a great resource to being able to make these live calls a hit and everything. I used to be doing all of the live calls myself. And as my business continued to grow, it wasn't something that I could always put my feet into. But with Kathy, we make a great team and she's amazing. So Kathy, tell us a little bit about, you got into the special ed world pretty early in your career. What motivated you to specifically want to work with like special ed kids?
I started out working at a residential school for duly diagnosed, emotionally disturbed and mentally retarded. At that point, that's what they call them. So I say I grew up there because I worked there from when I was in high school all the way through college and all that. So I knew I wanted to be a teacher from 4th grade on. When I was at that school, the residential school, I asked the principal, what do I need to do? He said, go to this college, get this degree, and do that. And I did. I did that. When I was in school, I kept getting evaluated. I was young. So for my grade, so it was that I was struggling, but I wasn't low enough to get special services. So I was always like right on that cusp there.
Yes, you're like a gray area kid. That's kind of what we refer to them as today. I
Yep.
have to say those gray area kids are probably the clients that reach out to me the most, because their kids aren't receiving the services they need in school and they know that they need help. And so I get a big group of those people reaching out, which is really awesome.
Yeah. And then from there, I ended up going into the public school eventually. And I took the Wilson reading program. And then I became a learning disability specialist for a city. And then I was there over 20 years. And then I fell at school and I knew how to teach reading. I mean, that's what I did. My specialty was teaching the most severely dyslexic in the city to read. And then when I fell, in the thought of even going back, I couldn't do it. I just could not. The craziness of testing, just the craziness of teaching I just didn't want to go back to the negativity. I didn't want to anything. So that's when I reached out to Joanne, because I'm like, I know how to teach. I just don't know how to do this online. And then taking the reading class. And I mean, yes, I taught reading for a long time and very specialized, but again, I didn't know how to do it online.
Right.
So then taking the reading interventionist just helped me tremendously, because I could figure out actually how to do it. And what was the nice thing is I was not tied to a program, because I was so tied with Wilson. My hands were tied because I had to teach to fidelity. I mean, I was observed every month because of the position I was in. So I had a trainer in the classroom all the time. So believe me, I did it to fidelity.
Right.
But it didn't, and I always said, Wilson's a wonderful program, but it's not for everybody. Because there's certain kids it just does not click with. But with the reading interventionist, it opened up, okay, I can use that part, but I can use this part. I can actually introduce things quicker than I ever did.
Right.
So
we've talked about that, because one of the things in Wilson was that they had to master the spelling pattern before they could actually go on to continue working on it as a reading skill. And we've talked about with some kids that process can take a long time. And it's almost like you have to separate where they're at spelling developmentally and reading developmentally, because you're holding back what they're capable of doing reading wise.
Right. And I couldn't I couldn't move forward until they could read nonsense words and spell. So it got to a point, I had a kid that she could read Thanksgiving, but she couldn't read rain
Yeah.
because it was two different syllable types. And it took a while before we introduced any other syllable type into it. But now with this program, you can.
Yes.
And actually, with Joanne, how you teach the spot and dot and about how to recognize the different syllable types and all that. Like I'm not tied to not at least exposing them to the different syllable types.
Right.
And that makes a world of difference, because it's not that they're stuck reading decodables. They can actually, I can use Raz Kids and go through, and it's just like, okay, what does AI say? And they can do it. And it amazes them. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I read that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. That my favorite question I ask all the time is, what pattern is that?
Yes.
They look at the word, they can't read it, and they're stuck. They're like, they don't know how to go about it, or they're doing something silly with it. Like with rain, maybe they're going in.
Yes.
Right. And you're okay, stop for a second, just think, what pattern is it? Right. And then they're like, two vowel talkers. Great. What sound will that A make? They say A. Great. Now try it. It's like almost like a reset for their brain, because their brain, they're so used to other people saying to them, sound it out.
Yep.
Sound it out to them, though. They don't, like the adult who's saying that a lot of times doesn't realize what they're saying. They just think that sound it out to the adult is, if you know the pattern, apply it. Sound it out to the child means look at every sound and tell me the sound it makes. So they're not thinking I have to apply the rules. It just means sound out every sound that I see. So they're interpreting what the adult is saying incorrectly. And so by just changing the wording, by saying, what pattern is that versus sound it out, now they're thinking, oh, there's a rule I have to follow. What's that rule? Okay. If we can get them, you guys, to figure out what sound the vowel is making, you've just unlocked the toughest thing about reading.
Yep.
It's the toughest part.
And it works.
What sound does that dang vowel make? Because like a vowel can make so many different sounds, right? Which one is it making? And if you know why it's making what it's making, it's amazing. Right. Yeah, Joanne.
And in your box of tricks, you've got little movies, videos connected to the different sounds. So if it's the bossy R, oh my gosh, the bossy R went over so well with one of my students because he just thought that was hysterical, and so whenever a word has no R, AR, there's a bossy R in it, he goes, I know what that one is. And he starts doing the dance for the bossy R, and it's so nice that it's linking into the long-term memory because we've made it pop for them. And that's one of the things that's nice in all the materials that you have. You link all these wonderful videos and or games like Spot and Dot and things that really help make a difference in learning these materials. Yeah.
It's so funny because when I first started doing this, like I wasn't creating things so that it would be fun for the child, but it was what the child needed. And then I kept having like teachers tell me, but I want it to be fun. And I'm like, I am not the fun tutor. I am like, I'm going to teach this so that you can learn it. Right. And I didn't realize that everything I was doing was fun. It was just done in a fun way, but not in a childish way. So one of the things that I hate about programs that exist is that a lot of phonics programs are designed only for younger children. So when I worked with my 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders, they don't want to see all that cutesy little stuff, right? So now I can format it any way that I want to. If I want it to be cutesy for a kid, I can make it cutesy for a kid. But if I want to just keep it simple so that none of that cutesy stuff is attached, I can totally do that too. And I think that's really important. Right. Yeah, for sure. And make it fun. I love that. So we've got some other people who have joined in here. We've got Lorraine. Well, we are so glad that you're here. We've got Patricia. Patricia has actually gone through this training as well. So I'm glad that you are in here as well, Patricia. If you could just kind of type on in your, what your example, what your situation was like as you were as you went through the program as well, that would be really helpful. If you've gone through the program, what was that like for you? Type that on into the chat so other people know what that was like for you. Because I think it helps to hear other people's experiences with it. There's only so much that, obviously, I'm pretty proud of the program that I put together, because once I saw the results that I could get, I knew that I couldn't keep this to myself, but yet I didn't feel strong enough to teach it to somebody else. Like I knew how to do it. You know how it is? Like, you know how to do something, but you don't really know how to teach somebody else how to do it. I'm like, I don't know how to teach somebody to think like I think. And then I started mapping it out and I started putting the pieces together. I had Meg who went through, who just said, hey, can you teach me how to close the gap a full year with 8 to 12 hours of instruction? And I was like, I don't know. I'm like, honestly, like, I have no idea if I can teach you that, because I've had so much background, right? Like I've had so much training. I've been a trainer. I've gotten my master's. Can I teach somebody else? I've only been a student in this and been teaching my students as a teacher, but I've never like taught from scratch, beginning to end, other teachers and tutors. And I started going through the process with her. It was really awesome, because I said, hey, here's what I'd like you to do for me. Write down any questions that you have as you have them, so that I can address them. And then I built in every single question that she had into the program to really break down different things that she was struggling with understanding. And I was like, okay, if I can help somebody who just has a little bit of experience with teaching reading understand how to do these things, I can teach anybody, right? Like, how to do these things. And she had some really awesome results with her students. And it was really fun to be able to see that happen, and begin going from there. So Kathy, as you were going through the program, you had you as well. Like, so, okay, I'm going to break this down. We got a few people who go through this program. The three different types of people. I kind of see this over and over again. Somebody who's never taught reading online, but knows how to teach reading. Somebody who has never taught reading before and wants to learn how to teach reading, because I think that, I really want to be able to help other people. And then I have people who are, they want to increase their own professional development in reading, because as reading tutors, like, we feel like we never know enough. Anybody feel like that? Like, I always feel like I could never learn enough about teaching reading. I kind of feel that people go into those different categories, and you kind of fell into that category, Kathy, of you had a lot of experience, but you didn't know how to do it online. What were you able to take out of the Reading Interventionist program?
Well, definitely on how to teach it online, that's for sure. But just how to, that's the biggest thing, how to teach it online, the different resources that I could use. I was so used to doing full-blown assessments that I don't have to do full-blown assessments. I can target it and do that. Because my assessments that I had to do previously were if the kids were going to get services or not. So this, you have different ones for different reasons. Also, the phonological awareness piece was great, with the different resources that you could use for that. Actually, how to use Raz Kids. It really showed me how to use and what you can utilize in there.
Yeah. And just for those of you who've never heard of Raz Kids before, when I first got started, I actually made PowerPoint books out of all the books that I have. You see how, like, all those beautiful books Joanne has on the background there? I was taking books like that and I was making PowerPoint books so I could use them with my students.
Oh my gosh.
Raz Kids already has a bunch of books that you can use from levels from A to Z, guided reading levels. And you don't have to do any of that. They're already there at your fingertips, which is awesome. Yeah. And so being able to use those tools and those resources, and how do I build that on in? Because it's not about having to take all of the resources and tools I have now and how do I use this to teach. It's how do I use the resources that are online so that I can take this business of mine and I can be mobile and be wherever I want. I'm not tied
Like
down
we are
by
now.
like my big bag of stuff.
That's what I
Yeah.
My
aspire
big
to.
bag of stuff now is all saved in the cloud and I can access it from anywhere at any point in time. And Beth, you ask a really great question. What age range can this be taught with? So I was trained in how to teach kids to read from birth to adult. I had people asking me, Joanne, can you teach adults how to read? I said, I think I can. And so I took the same exact principles I teach in the Reading Interventionist program. I applied them with adults, using books that adults would be interested in, but still teaching the same strategies, spot and dot, multisyllabic words, breaking that down, right? I was able to take the strategies without without any cutesy stuff, but be able to use the stuff so that it wasn't condescending for the adult. So yes, it can be. I have learned over time, I don't personally like teaching adults, but somebody who does like teaching adults and wants to help somebody increase their reading level could absolutely use this program. You just have to start thinking about, okay, I might not use Raz Kids with them, right? I might not use those books. If I do, maybe I'm using some of the nonfiction books versus the fiction books. Maybe I'm finding some other passages and paragraphs that deal more with, there's some passages and stuff you might want to use like off to class to be able to get passages about jobs and, just bills or like paying bills or just, I don't know, just things that are just a little bit more like adult orientated versus kid orientated. And off to class has those kinds of, they have those kinds of passages on there. You can also do like research online for what would be great books to be able to work with different age levels. And I mean, I would still use the assessment to find out what level are they at. What's their reading level? It goes up to a high school level. Most likely, if somebody's struggling with reading and they're an adult, they're probably not at a high school level. So you'll be able to use that QRI assessment to find out what level are they at and be able to go from there. So yeah, great question. Thank you, Beth, for asking that question. You guys, and before we go on to Nancy, we got Nancy in the house, woo, woo, who loves life. Look at that. Oh, we love you, Nancy. Kathy, for people that are on the fence about joining the Reading Interventionist program, what would you tell them?
I tell them that you're worth learning. I mean, of course, I had the huge background in teaching reading. So but you can always learn something new. And I took the Reading Interventionist many times because I knew I would always, I'd always take out something different each time. And I did. You can always learn that little tip. And it's nice to have the community also to be able to talk to other people that their background, what they have. Like you're fully booked or somebody else that because you were in the class with them and talked to them, that you would refer them. So that's a huge thing. But you're worth the professional development to learn it. And it's going to pay off very quickly because you're going to be able to charge more because you feel more confident in what you're teaching.
And you know that you're teaching best practices and you have all these strategies and tools and resources and and then more parents are going to refer you. So that's, and think about the cost. Like I always tell people, think about the cost of going back to college. It's going to cost you between $7,000 to $21,000 to be able to go back to get a master's degree. And then you're going to leave not knowing how to teach reading online. Like this specifically teaches you what you want to know. There isn't another class in the college level that's going to teach you how to do this. This class doesn't exist in the college level. And it's a drop in the hat compared to going back to school.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Yeah. And you won't have to take out a loan, most likely.
No, not at all.
But if you want to pay through PayPal, they do have that ability to do that. Like you can actually go through, there's a button that you hit. And I did this for one of the courses I wanted to take. It was a $2,000 course. And I was like, I know that I can make in 6 months, $2,000. And it said there was like no money down. Like you just have to pay it off in the 6 months. And if you pay it off in the 6 months, there was going to be no additional money that I would have to pay. And I was like, well, this is silly. Now I have a reason to be able to pay it. So if you hit that PayPal button and choose that as one of your options, PayPal will help you with the financing.
How nice is that?
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you're like diligent and being able to get students, right? I know somebody who went through this program. You know what they said? They were learning about the assessment. As they were learning about the assessment in week 1, she put out to the people in her Facebook world. She said, I'm taking this class on how to teach reading online. She's as those of you that know, I love teaching reading, and now I'm learning how to do it online. And the course that I'm going through, I have to give a free assessment. She's like, I'd love to be able to offer the free assessment to you guys. Anybody interested? She had like 10 people who said she was interested, and she ended up getting like 4 or 5 students that moved forward with her services. She paid for them. She turned them into clients, and she paid for the class after the first week.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know. I'm like, okay, I'm sharing that strategy with everybody. Like, do that. Like, right?
That's super.
I mean, because now she's taking each week, she would learn new strategies and new things, and she was able to then bring that into her teaching as well. So she was like, all right, I've got these kids now, they're online, and I'm going to have to figure this out as I go. And I'm like, I love that approach, because you can't ever say that, like, you're not waiting until I have all the right pieces in place. You're taking an action, you're figuring it out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome, because she had trust that I had all of the answers for her that she was going to need to know. And I love that. That was amazing. You guys, Nancy, I think she just turned into Kathy and I's like new BFF. She's going to be hanging out with us this weekend.
Hi, girls.
We're going to Universal Studios this weekend together.
We're going to be all
Nancy,
masked up.
We will be messed up. We will be messed up. We will be washing our hands a lot. In fact, you can't get on any of their rides without, there's always somebody there squirting your hands. You
Wonderful.
Cannot get on a ride unless they're squirting your hands. And they are following you through the lines, washing the railings. I've never seen that happen before. Like, I went with my kids just about, was it like a week and a half ago now?
Yeah.
And I was so impressed with how safe they made me feel there. And I could definitely say there are some places that I've been COVID scared to be. And I'm like, I feel like I'm not making the best decision being here. But at Universal, that definitely was not the case. It felt very, very safe. But so, yes. So Nancy is a full-time Florida girl. She lives here.
I do. I live in South
day.
Florida. Yep. I live in Pompano Beach, and I teach reading online.
Yes. Now, you also, before you started Reading Interventions, you were teaching mostly in person, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so what motivated you to move online or to do some of your students online?
The accessibility. I had a parent approach me and needed someone to teach their daughter in Michigan. So I said, yes, I'll give it a try. So I started in February with her, the beginning of February. So we're coming up on a year's anniversary. And then the pandemic happened, and that really thrust me to go totally online.
Yes.
Which was great, because I was also helping a girl in Colorado finish high school, and she was trying to travel at that time and be in Colorado and be here in South Florida. So I was able to keep our connection and the learning going no matter where she was going. So I had to kind of adapt to what my students needed. And it was the digital age was really kind of knocking on my door, and the pandemic thrust me into this. So when I first got into it, I was a tutor surviving to try to use all the tools online to teach it, to teach. And so when I discovered you and the Reading Interventionist, I was like, that's exactly what I need, because I have all the stuff I need to teach. I know what to do, but I don't know how to translate it into the digital, on the digital.
Right. And that's a big piece of it. And because we have all these resources, we have all these tools, right, that we've always used with our in-person people. And did you also have a in-person, did you have a tutoring center?
Yes, I had signed a lease on, I think the last day of February, March 1st, and March 13th, I had my confirmation that I had the lease in my hands for a year. And at that point, I couldn't even move into it. I couldn't get the place inspected or anything because of the pandemic. And fortunately, I was able to cash in all my good karma, and I was able to have another person take over the lease. because at that point I realized I'm just going to be digital.
Oh my gosh, how cool is that? And you could be there for your son Jacob and all of that kind of stuff. That's amazing. That's
It's
amazing.
amazing.
It really is. I mean, we now really literally can like teach from wherever we want in the world, whether that's our own home or some random house in Florida that we decide to get or So you had a lot of background knowledge in reading as well?
Yes, I did. I spent 9 years in the Broward County School District
Mm-hmm.
in kindergarten and first grade, and I loved it so much. Bless you. And before that, I was working in Colorado, teaching school there, elementary school, mostly working with intervention in the summer, teaching summer school. I have a
Oh,
lot of
very
reading.
cool. You do have a lot of reading. And so even though you had a lot of reading, you still wanted to like move forward and try to learn how to do this. What was your big like you knew like for sure like this is what you needed?
When I saw how thorough the course was going to be and how long the course is, 8 weeks, right? Isn't it 8
Yep.
weeks or
Mhm.
so it's 8 weeks, which to me that's professional development that I needed to invest in myself and my business.
Mhm.
And so when I saw that it was going to be in depth, academic and useful, like with tools straight away that I could use, I was totally on board. And
Yeah.
it really is an investment in myself, in my kids, and it's paid off in spades.
For sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And look at that. Now you're not written into a lease. How much was your lease going to be like a month to be able to have your own brick and mortar business?
$1,500 a month.
$1,500 a month just for 1 month to have a brick and mortar. Wow. And now that gets to be money that you can either put into your tutoring business, put into your kids' college fund or your living expenses or whatever you want. Like you get to like keep that money
I do.
versus having to pay over. I'm just doing quick math in my head here, guys. So math tutors don't get mad at me. Like $12,000, $13,000 a year, at least. I'm probably on the low side there that you'd have to pay to have a brick and mortar business. And now all those fees are gone.
All the fees, all the stress, all the parts of it, the insurance that I had to get for the
Right.
and I just realized that as well, because like it really is a breath of fresh air. It's off my shoulders. I don't have to worry about making that rent. And then I also realized like once I was free of that, I really could kind of pick up and go, like maybe go live with my family in Rhode Island for the summer. And that wouldn't hold me back from still being able to meet my community, be with my students, and be a part of them no matter where I am too.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Oh, we've got Lorraine Carey, she's in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's further
Close by.
north from you, right? Or is that by you?
That's closer to you. I
Closer
think
to me,
it's
yeah.
towards
bit
the
more
west.
north?
Wisconsin? That's closer to Wisconsin?
St. Petersburg? No,
No, she's saying we now
Orlando.
here. Orlando. I'm in Orlando, for those of you that don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I knew I was off on my math. I knew. I was just like throwing a number on out there. I'm like, I took the 1 and I multiplied it by like 10, and then there's 12, and then you got all the 500s. Yeah, I was way off. It's like $18,000, whatever. It's a lot of money.
18,000.
That's a lot of money.
I knew I had it in my business plan, but can you imagine having to work for $18,000 just to be?
Just to exist.
And in my mind, that was what my obvious next step was. That was my
Right.
obvious, like where I was in my business because I already been tutoring privately for 3 years.
Right.
Like I said, the digital age came knocking on my door and I was pushed into it. And
You were pushed into it because there was a reason for it, right? Like I think like there was this higher voice that was speaking to you that was saying, "Hey, I know this is where you want to go and where you think you need to go, but I'm going to push you in a totally different direction because this is where you really need to be."
I had to really trust.
Mm-hmm.
I know everybody had a hard time with the transition.
Yeah.
The pandemic happened, and everybody's experience is valid, and everybody has a way that they're experiencing it in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So when it came to me, I was very, very stressed out at first. And then after
Sure.
a while, when I started to realize that this is more of a opportunity, and that I can grow and keep on moving. It's going to be okay. Like my students didn't go anywhere. I think I lost 2 students and then I gained more students.
Right.
So they stayed with me, and
Mhm.
it was a testament to good practices in honest business and
Mhm.
just being open.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so as you went through the Reading Interventionist program, what stood out to you from other professional development that you had been going through?
It was so personable, so one-to-one. I felt like I wasn't just part of a big, um, just pay the money and get the course. It felt
Mhm.
like you really care about me and what I'm doing.
I do.
You show
Yes.
up. You show up every week, and the group shows up. Um, that really sets it apart.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate being able to I love being able to share this knowledge with you guys so that you can get the results with your students, because at the end of the day, I'm not the kind of tutor that believes in competing and like this is competition. If you do what I'm doing, then this is going to be like competition. I believe in collaboration. And I think that this program is the start of a beautiful collaboration between other reading tutors specifically. So Kathy's got her quadruplets, so she's got to head on out. Enjoy tutoring your quadruplets. This is really, really cool, you guys. I absolutely love when I get to see you guys and be able to chat with you. Jenny Hannock just said, Nancy, that you are her avatar. She's right there right now with the in-person tutoring right now. She wants to move on to online, and she wants to be doing exactly what you're doing, move that in-person to online tutoring.
Oh, Jenny, that's so nice. Thank you.
Don't you love that?
That's so
This is
sweet.
why I like to feature you guys, because I think it's so amazing for other people to hear the stories. You guys are amazing. Every single one of you that like takes a chance, goes forward, moves ahead, and does this, like, you guys are the heroes. You really are. You're not just somebody that is like, you bought a program, but then you never like tapped into it, right? Like you actually bought a program, you went through the program, you showed up to the calls, and then you started actually making this happen for yourselves. And you guys are amazing. You're the true heroes here. And it's so awesome to get to know you guys and to be able to do that. For those of you who are like, you know what, I am in, I want to be in on this Reading Interventionist program, definitely. Beth right now is going to put, she can't put the link inside of the YouTube. I keep forgetting that she can't do that. So let's see, I bet there's a way that I can do it, you guys. Let me grab my link. All right, I got to just push pause there so I can grab it. We're going to come here. We're going to come here. Control C, and I am going to come on over into my YouTube channel and put it on inside of here so that you guys have that link. Done. It's so funny when you're trying to learn how to work on different systems. I have multiple screens at my home when I'm like working, and now I'm like having to remember what life is like when you're just working on one screen.
Old-fashioned
and
way.
and for whatever reason, YouTube will not let my wonderful Beth be able to put a link inside of there. We got to talk to YouTube and be like, come on now. She's not people. She needs to be able to put links inside of there. But just click that link, you guys, if you're ready to join, do that. There is also a replay. So if you did not get to see the How to Close the Reading Gap a Full Year with 8 to 12 hours of instruction, where you get to see like, what is Joanne's skeletal plan? Like, how does she actually make this happen? And you want to see if this is really going to be a good fit for you or not. There is a video in that link. So you can just click on that and you can watch that video. It's the entire training inside of there. And that video will be there until Sunday at midnight, and then it'll be gone. So definitely come and join us. Our next group for the Reading Intervention starts next week, and we'll figure out what times our live calls will be based off the people that join. And Joanne and Nancy, if you want to join in on those live calls, you absolutely can, because you're always invited to join back.
Thank you. I will be there.
Yay. So thank you guys
Definitely.
so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.
Bye.